Emily Carter sat in the back seat of a taxi, staring out the window as the city lights blurred past her. She was exhausted but excited to be home. She had spent the last 3 days visiting her parents in another state, taking a much-needed break from the stress of her marriage. Lately, things had felt distant between her and James, but she told herself it was just work pressure. James had built his business from the ground up, and as it grew, so did his responsibilities. He was often away, missing dinners, skipping date nights, and working late into the night. Emily had tried to be patient, to be understanding, but deep down, she missed the man who once made her feel like she was the center of his world. Still, she believed they could fix things. That's why she had gone to visit her parents, to clear her mind and come back with fresh energy to fight for her marriage. As the taxi pulled into their upscale neighborhood, Emily smiled, thinking about surprising James. She had even bought his favorite bottle of whiskey and a box of his favorite chocolates. But as soon as the car stopped in front of their house, her heart sank. Hello, family. Welcome to Storytime Betrayal. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Like and share this video to your friends and loved ones. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. Her suitcases were outside, neatly packed, neatly placed, as if someone had decided she no longer belonged here. Emily's pulse pounded in her ears. She slowly stepped out of the car, her breath coming in short gasps. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe there had been some kind of mistake. But then, the front door opened, and Vanessa stepped out. Emily's blood ran cold. Vanessa Reynolds was a woman she had seen only once, a tall, stunning brunette who worked as James' assistant. She had been overly friendly when they met at a company event, but something about her smile had never felt genuine. Now, Vanessa stood in Emily's doorway, wearing one of Emily's silk robes, holding a wine glass, looking as comfortable as if she had lived there for years. Emily's world tilted. Her stomach churned. Her hands clenched into fists. She took a shaky step forward. What is going on? Her voice barely came out. Vanessa smirked and leaned lazily against the doorframe. Oh, you weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow. She took a slow sip of wine. Guess James forgot to tell you. Emily felt like she had been punched in the chest. Tell me what? That you don't live here anymore. The words sliced through her like a knife. Emily's lips parted, but no words came out. Her mind was struggling to make sense of what was happening. She turned her gaze back to the luggage. Her luggage, packed and thrown out like trash. This wasn't real. This wasn't happening. Then, she heard footsteps from inside the house. The sound of someone walking down the hallway. And then James appeared. He was shirtless, a towel wrapped around his waist, fresh from the shower. His dark hair was damp, and his face showed no surprise, no guilt, just mild annoyance. Emily's heart twisted. James, her voice cracked. James sighed, running a hand through his wet hair. Emily, you weren't supposed to come back today. Her breath hitched. So, what? If I had come back tomorrow, I would have walked into an empty house? No explanation? No goodbye. James exhaled. Look, Emily. Things haven't been working between us for a long time.
You know that.
Emily shook her head, tears stinging her eyes.
No, James.
I didn't know that. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. I thought we could fix things. James' expression remained blank. I've moved on. Vanessa and I are together now. Emily blinked, unable to process his words. You moved on? Just like that. James shrugged. It happens. Emily let out a shaky breath. It happens. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. 7 years. 7 years of loyalty, love, sacrifice. And now, James was throwing it all away, as if it had meant nothing. Her hands clenched. You could have at least had the decency to tell me. James sighed, as if she was the one being unreasonable. I didn't want to hurt you. Emily's eyes burned. You didn't want to hurt me? You let your mistress throw my things outside. James pinched the bridge of his nose. Emily, please don't make a scene. A scene? A scene? Emily felt rage boiling inside her, but before she could say anything, Vanessa let out a mocking laugh. Honestly, I was expecting more of a reaction, Vanessa said, twirling a strand of hair around her finger. Are you really going to just stand there and let another woman take your husband? Emily turned to her, her eyes sharp. You can have him. Vanessa's smirk faltered just a little. Emily took a deep breath, forcing her emotions down. She would not beg. She would not cry in front of them. Instead, she picked up her suitcase. And she turned to leave. Vanessa chuckled behind her. Wow, no fight? No drama? Emily paused. Then, she slowly turned around. A small, knowing smile curved her lips. Oh, don't worry, Vanessa, she said softly. The real drama hasn't even started yet. And with that, she walked away, leaving them standing there. But as she pulled her suitcase behind her, her heart burned with determination. This wasn't over. James Carter had no idea what was coming for him. Emily walked down the quiet street, her suitcase rolling behind her, the wheels making a soft clicking sound against the pavement. Her chest felt heavy, her mind racing with emotions, anger, betrayal, humiliation. But above all, there was a cold, growing determination inside her. She wasn't just going to walk away and disappear.
No.
James Carter had thrown her away like trash. But life had a funny way of making people pay for their sins. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, snapping her out of her thoughts. She pulled it out, seeing a familiar name on the screen, Mia. Mia was her best friend, the one person who had always been by her side, through the good and the bad. She answered. Hey, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Emily? Are you okay? You were supposed to call when you got home. Mia's worried voice came through the line. Emily stopped walking and let out a breath. I'm not home. There was a pause. Then Mia's voice turned sharp. What do you mean? Emily swallowed hard, looking up at the sky, blinking back tears. James, he threw me out, Mia. My suitcases were waiting for me outside. And Vanessa was there. Silence. Then, what? That snake. That lowlife homewrecker. Are you serious right now? Emily let out a bitter laugh.
Yeah.
She answered the door wearing my robe, drinking my husband's wine in my house. Mia cursed so loudly that Emily had to pull the phone away from her ear. That bastard. I knew something was off about him. And that Vanessa? Ugh. I swear, Emily, if I see her in the streets, I'm going to… Emily sighed. Mia?
No.
Don't Mia me. I'm furious, He cheated on you, and didn't even have the decency to end things properly? He let her throw you out like some stranger? I swear, I wanna… Mia, I need a place to stay. Mia's voice softened immediately. Oh, of course. You don't even have to ask. Come to my place right now. I'll be waiting. Emily closed her eyes, relief washing over her. Thank you. Always, Mia said. Now hurry up because we have a lot to talk about. And believe me, we're not letting this go. Emily ended the call and flagged down a taxi. As she sat in the back seat, her hands clenched into fists. She had spent 7 years building a life with James. 7 years of love, support, and sacrifice. And in the blink of an eye, he had erased her like she never mattered. But he was going to regret it. Oh, he was going to regret it deeply. Mia's apartment was warm, cozy, and most importantly, safe. As soon as Emily walked in, Mia pulled her into a tight hug. I still can't believe this, Mia said, pulling away. Are you sure you don't want me to go over there and throw a brick through his window? Emily let out a small laugh. Tempting. But no. Mia guided her to the couch, handing her a glass of wine. Okay, tell me everything. And don't leave anything out. Emily took a deep breath and recounted everything. Vanessa answering the door, James coming downstairs like it was nothing, his cold, detached words, and the way he had acted like she was just an inconvenience. By the time she finished, Mia's face was red with fury. I hate him, she growled. I hate him. And that Vanessa?
Ugh.
She's going to suffer, I swear. She's a snake, a gold-digging, manipulative snake. Emily swirled her wine in the glass. I don't care about her. She can have him. Mia blinked.
Wait.
What? Emily met her friend's eyes, a small, knowing smile on her lips. She thinks she's won. But the truth is she's just borrowed trouble. Mia frowned. What do you mean? Emily leaned back. James is predictable. I know him better than anyone. And Vanessa? She's ambitious. She only wants him because of his money and power. But I was the one who helped James build his business. I was the one who stood beside him when he had nothing. Mia narrowed her eyes. So? Emily smirked. So, I'm going to take it all back. Mia's jaw dropped. Wait, are you saying? Emily took a slow sip of wine. I'm saying James doesn't know who he just betrayed. And Vanessa? She has no idea what's coming. Mia grinned. Oh, now this is getting interesting. Emily's eyes darkened with quiet determination. This is just the beginning. The next day, Emily called her lawyer. I need to finalize the divorce, she said. But first, I need to see what I'm entitled to. Her lawyer, Mr. Anderson, was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that made Emily's heart stop. Emily, you do realize that half of James' business is legally yours, right? She sat up straight. What? You were there from the start. You helped him build the company, and from what I see in the records, your name was used as a co-owner in the early years. You never signed anything to remove yourself. Legally, you still own 50%. Emily's lips parted.
She had forgotten about that.
James had started the company in their second year of marriage. Since he didn't have the financial stability to apply for loans, he had used her name on the paperwork. He must have assumed she never remembered.
But now?
Now she had legal grounds to take back everything. A slow, satisfied smile spread across her face. Mr. Anderson, she said calmly, I'd like to proceed with full legal action. And just like that, the first piece of the revenge puzzle fell into place. Meanwhile, in James' mansion, Vanessa twirled in front of the mirror, admiring her reflection. She was living the dream: money, power, luxury. James walked in, looking exhausted. Ugh, what's wrong with you? She asked, rolling her eyes. James rubbed his temples. Emily is fighting for the company. Vanessa froze. What? She owns half of it, James muttered. She's taking me to court. Vanessa's stomach dropped. This wasn't part of the plan. She had taken Emily's place, but now, if Emily won, James would lose everything. And if he lost everything, then Vanessa had nothing. A storm was coming, and none of them were ready for what Emily Carter was about to do next. James Carter sat in his office, gripping his whiskey glass so tightly his knuckles turned white. His entire world was crumbling, and there was only one person to blame.
Emily.
His ex-wife. The woman he had once loved, cherished, and promised the world to. The woman he had discarded like an old newspaper. And now she was winning. He slammed his glass down on the table and turned to Vanessa, who was pacing the room like a restless lioness. She's doing this on purpose, Vanessa hissed. She wants to ruin you. James scoffed, rubbing his temples. She's entitled to half, Vanessa. Her name is still on the company's registration. She has every legal right. Vanessa spun around, fury in her eyes. Well, fix it. She's your ex-wife. You think she's doing this because she needs money?
No.
She's doing it to punish you. And if you lose the company, we lose everything. James exhaled sharply, leaning back in his chair. I know. Vanessa stomped her foot. Then do something. James clenched his jaw. He had been trying. His lawyers had already reached out to Emily, offering a settlement, millions of dollars if she just walked away. But Emily had refused. She didn't want the money. She wanted the company.
His company.
Vanessa crossed her arms. Call her.
Talk to her.
Make her change her mind. James hesitated. He hadn't spoken to Emily since that night. He had assumed she would disappear, wallow in heartbreak, and eventually move on. He had underestimated her. With a deep sigh, he picked up his phone and dialed her number. It rang.
Once. Twice.
Then, she answered. Her voice was calm, composed. Hello, James. James felt a strange chill run down his spine. Emily, he said, forcing his voice to be smooth. We need to talk.
She paused.
About what? He clenched his teeth. You know what? There was a soft chuckle on the other end. It wasn't her usual laugh. It was colder, more controlled. James, I don't think we have anything to discuss, she said. Unless you're calling to surrender. His grip tightened on the phone. Emily, this is my company. She sighed.
No, James.
Our company. I was there when you had nothing. I was there when you needed me. But you threw me away.
So now?
Now. I'm taking everything. James' heart pounded. Don't do this, Emily, he said, his voice low. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. There was another pause. Then, oh, but I do, James. Then she hung up. James stared at his phone, his breath coming out in short bursts. Vanessa rushed over. What did she say? He swallowed hard, his hands trembling. She's not backing down, he muttered. Vanessa's face twisted in fury. Then we need to fight dirty. Emily sat in Mia's living room, sipping tea while her lawyer, Mr. Anderson, reviewed the latest documents. She's panicking, Mia said, grinning as she scrolled through social media. Vanessa just posted some nonsense about jealous ex-wives who can't move on. Emily chuckled. Let her talk. Mia leaned in, eyes sparkling. Okay, tell me the next step. Because I know you have one. Emily smirked, placing her teacup down. James is desperate. He's going to try and fight back. But I'm going to make sure he destroys himself in the process. Mia's eyebrows lifted. And how do we do that? Emily leaned forward, lowering her voice. James' company has been struggling financially for months. He's been covering it up with fake numbers and hidden debts. If that information leaks, Mia gasped. His investors will run. Emily nodded. Exactly. Mr. Anderson looked impressed. You really were the brains behind his success. Emily smirked. He never realized that. But he will. Mia grinned. So, how do we get the information out? Emily took a deep breath. James trusts Vanessa. But Vanessa? She only trusts herself. Mia frowned. Wait, you think she'll turn on him? Emily's smile was sharp. Not yet. But she will. Mia's eyes widened. Oh, you're a genius. That night, James sat in his study, reviewing numbers with his accountant. This is bad, the accountant muttered. We're running out of time. James ran a hand through his hair. How long do we have before the investors notice? Maybe a few weeks. James cursed under his breath. Vanessa walked in, her eyes narrowing. What's going on? James sighed. Nothing. Vanessa crossed her arms. Liar. He looked at her, frustration in his eyes. Emily is trying to take everything. And if she wins, he exhaled sharply. I lose the company. Vanessa stiffened. If James lost everything, where would that leave her? James could see the panic in her eyes, and for the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Did Vanessa truly love him? Or was she just here for the wealth? He looked at her, trying to read her face. But all he saw was fear. Fear for herself. And suddenly, he wasn't so sure she would stay by his side if everything collapsed. 2 days later, Vanessa sat in a small cafe, nervously looking around. Then, a figure walked in and sat across from her. Emily. Vanessa clenched her fists. Why did you call me here? Emily smiled. Because, Vanessa, I know exactly what you want. Vanessa scoffed. Oh, do you? Emily leaned forward. James is drowning. You know it. And when he finally goes under, where will that leave you? Vanessa bit her lip, looking away. Emily's voice was soft but sharp. You and I both know James will throw you away the moment you're no longer useful. Vanessa swallowed hard. Emily smiled. But I have a proposal. Vanessa frowned. What kind of proposal? Emily's eyes glowed with mischief. Help me end him. Vanessa's breath hitched. Work with me, Emily continued. Give me the proof I need to expose his financial lies, and in return you walk away rich. Vanessa's hands trembled. Betray James? But if Emily was right, if James really was going under, then sticking by him would only destroy her, too. She looked at Emily, seeing nothing but cold determination in her eyes. And slowly, a wicked smile spread across Vanessa's face. Tell me more. James Carter stood in front of his office window, staring at the city skyline, a glass of whiskey in his hand. The weight of everything, his failing company, the lawsuits, and Emily's ruthless attack, was suffocating. For the first time in his life, James felt powerless. Behind him, Vanessa sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She was unusually quiet. James turned to her. Why do I feel like you're hiding something? Vanessa barely looked up. Because you're paranoid. James narrowed his eyes. I can't afford to be paranoid, Vanessa. I need to know I can trust you. Vanessa finally met his gaze. Of course, you can trust me. But James wasn't convinced. Something felt off. And he was right to be suspicious. The next morning, James woke up to chaos. The headlines were everywhere. James Carter's company on the brink of collapse. Investors panic over financial fraud allegations. James' blood ran cold. He grabbed his phone and called his lawyer. What the hell is happening? The lawyer's voice was grim. Someone leaked our financial records. The investors are pulling out. James nearly dropped his phone. Who leaked it? We don't know yet, but whoever it was had full access. James' mind raced. There were only a few people who had that kind of access. And one of them was sitting across from him, sipping coffee like nothing had happened. Vanessa. She looked up at him with innocent eyes. You look stressed. James' hands clenched into fists. He knew. She had betrayed him. Later that evening, James barged into Vanessa's dressing room, his face red with fury. It was you, wasn't it? Vanessa calmly applied her lipstick. What are you talking about? James grabbed her wrist. You leaked those documents. Vanessa smirked. And if I did? James felt like he had been punched in the gut. You destroyed me. Vanessa pulled her wrist free and laughed.
No, James.
You destroyed yourself the moment you chose me over Emily. James staggered back. You were working with her. Vanessa leaned in, whispering. And guess what? It was so easy. James' face twisted in rage. I trusted you. Vanessa stepped back, grabbing her purse. Trust is for fools. I wanted security, James, and you were sinking. I did what was best for me. James' jaw tightened. You're going to regret this. Vanessa smirked. I doubt that. With one last glance at him, she walked out of the room, and out of his life. The next week was a nightmare. His company crumbled overnight. Stocks plummeted. The board forced him to resign. James Carter, the once powerful businessman, was now nothing. He tried to call Vanessa. She blocked his number. He tried to fight Emily in court. He lost. And just like that, the empire he had built with Emily was gone. 3 months later, James sat in a small cafe, a shadow of the man he used to be. He had lost everything. Then, the door opened. Emily walked in. She looked radiant, confident, successful, untouchable. She sat across from him, placing her purse on the table. Hello, James. James swallowed hard. Emily, please. She tilted her head. Please, what? James clenched his fists. You won. You took everything. What do you want from me now? Emily leaned in, her voice soft but sharp. I don't want anything from you, James. She smiled. I just wanted to see if you finally understand what you threw away. James' throat tightened. She continued. You see, I never wanted to hurt you. But the moment you let Vanessa throw my things out, the moment you chose her over me, you sealed your own fate. James exhaled shakily. Emily, I'm sorry. Emily studied him for a long moment. Then, she stood up. I hope you find peace, James, she said. And with that, she walked away, leaving him alone with his regrets. 1 year later, Emily sat in her new office, a bigger, better one than the company she and James once owned. Mia walked in, holding a tablet. Guess what? Vanessa just filed for bankruptcy. Emily smirked. No surprise there. She only knew how to take, not build. Mia grinned. And James? Emily leaned back in her chair. Last I heard, he's working for someone else. A small-time consultant now.
Mia laughed.
Karma's beautiful, isn't it? Emily smiled.
Yes.
Yes, it was. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like and share this video to your friends and family. You can also comment what you feel about the story. Thanks for watching.